Hi everybody, I'm Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another movie review. Now my dad was really interested in seeing Edward Scissorhands. He hadn't remembered the entire movie from start to finish because the first time he had seen it, he had been working and then he would come home, and then he would have a big meal, so he would feel really tired by the end of the day and he couldn't stay awake for the entire duration of the film, which I think is a real shame. But we decided to watch it again, and I practically have the whole film memorized. But even though I really think it is just a classic film, and it is just beautiful. Everything that Tim Burton put into this film, all the imagination, the story, the mixture of horror and fantasy and romance, suspense. I thought that was just a really magnificent combination. And of course the notable music of Danny Elfman, one of my favorite composers, is at the forefront. It's just absolutely gorgeous music. I love it. The chorale that comes in and sings the familiar strains that we all know and love if we're Johnny Depp fans, of course, or Burton fanatics, and I happen to be both. I really love this film, particularly the contrast of the happy neighborhood with all the bright colors and just all the people that seem to be kind of oblivious to well, I guess I could say the darker side of humanity or reality, because it seems there's a contrast between light and dark. Of course, that's throughout the whole movie with color differences and costuming. That's deliberately done by Mr. Burton in his genius fashion. And one thing I noticed watching the film, I'm not sure how many times I've seen Edward Scissorhands, but I noticed that there was a house in the neighborhood that was striped. It was orange and blue. I thought, whoa, wild. But it just, I thought that's really interesting, but it didn't really make any sense to have a house that was striped in the midst of all these other houses that were just solid color. So, well, anyway, it's a colorful neighborhood, so it really doesn't matter. But there is a distinct difference between the little neighborhood in which Helen and Kim are in, and Kevin, and that happy family with this dysfunctions. And then you've got Edward, who lives on the top of the hill in a foreboding castle tower, just isolated from humanity. And he grows up with a kind inventor, Vincent Price, one of my favorite actors of all times. Rest in peace, Vincent. I just feel that he didn't even look his age. He was 80 by the time he made this, and I'm not sure what took him. It was probably old age that did finally take his life. But this was the last film that Mr. Price did while he was still on this earth, and I just think that you could see the brilliance of his character, and he's just so warm and loving and just gregarious, and he's got this spirit about him. You want to hug him because he's just such a wonderful character. I love him, even though you never know what his name is. I want to call him Victor, but I know that would be taking ideas from another story that we're all very familiar with, and it would really be not unique in and of itself, though I'm sure that Burton got a lot of his ideas from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to begin with. But anyway, I never noticed this, but in the very beginning scenes there is a foreshadowing, if you notice that. And I never really paid attention, but I'm not going to say what it is, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And I thought, so that's why he had that there. That was telling the story in picture form. Again, ingenious Mr. Burton. I loved everything about this movie, and of course the moral context of it, and how a rumor can, once it's planted deep into the minds of people who are gullible, it can become vicious. And the women that we thought were so wonderful to begin with, well, the one woman, I thought that she was kind of a harlot, and she actually proves herself to be so, and just her insidious nature shows later on in the film. You just think, why did you do that? You had to just be the rain cloud in the parade, didn't you? Well, it just shows how fickle human beings can be when they see something good and then they want to ruin it because it's different and unique. And of course, you always have the one person who thinks, anything new or unusual is evil and of the devil, and don't get me started about that. But she is a clear example of fundamentalism, and you see that, and you understand why I don't care for that and why I think it's a huge problem. But Edward Scissorhands, I think, is a 4-star film, 5 stars if I could give it. Just sensational in all ways, shapes, and forms. And my dad, he just absolutely loved it, and he thought it was very interesting and intriguing. And Winona Ryder and Johnny Depp were so very young when they made this movie, and you could see that. And I think they put makeup on Winona to make her look old. I don't know if they gave her acting lessons to make her sound like her voice was getting a little bit raspier as she aged, but whatever Tim did, he pulled it off very nicely. And this is a movie that I think a lot of people can learn from, just because of the nature of it and the moral context. And I wish that more films were actually like this nowadays, because this movie has this magic about it. The whole storytelling aspect just draws you in, and you become so fascinated with it. And Edward is he's a misunderstood character. He's a misfit. He doesn't know right from wrong because his his inventor, the only parent that he ever had, dies quite unexpectedly. And I know, spoiler alert, sorry, but he is left to make decisions on his own, and he really doesn't have any ethics, but he does what he feels is correct in his heart of hearts. And he has a good heart, and I think this is because he had a good inventor who made him. But I don't know, I could get into a whole philosophical conversation that I really don't want to get into here, but there's a lot of that nature versus nurture, and you've got the whole idea of mob mentality that's thrown in there, and the police, the real good guy who helps Edward in the end, and Kim, whom I just adore. She's such a lovely character. She's got a pure innocence about her. Of course, this shows with the white. She wears a white dress at the very last part, because that's symbolic of purity and the virginal quality that she has, and it works very well. And of course, Edward represents the dark, and it couldn't have been more symbolic than that. And the ending always makes me cry when they say goodbye, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful film, and it's classic. And if you're a Depp fan or Winona Ryder fan, it's the whole cast. Alan Arkin's in it. It's just a really terrific cast, and it's rock solid. And I just feel that it's a movie classic, whether you watch it on a big movie canvas projector screen, or if you just watch it on a regular small screen TV. Doesn't matter. It's the magic is still there, and it's the the weaving that Mr. Burton does so well with his stories. And this is why I've been a fan of Tim's for ages, and just I'm excited to see what he comes up with next, and wondering where he'll branch out to and what he'll try. And I'm awfully glad that he was able to give Johnny Depp his start through this, because Johnny has definitely evolved as an actor thanks to Tim's help as a friend. And I'm also interested in seeing what Johnny will do in the future. And I just am so grateful that opportunities like this have come around thanks to that. And I see that actually through the movie as well, because it talks about that, the whole idea of just well, coincidence. I don't know if you should call it coincidence or not, but for lack of a better term, fate. Just bringing people into our lives and having people transform us and just make us better people. And and we are made better because of that. And Edward has that in this movie, and that is just so important, I think. And like I said, a lot of people could learn from watching this film. And I hope that a lot of people do get a chance to see it, and that it is enjoyed by generations to come, and that they are able to look at this and just realize how much better the world would be with compassion, without judgment, and agape. And I think that's all I have to say. I really don't want this review to go too much longer, or I'll bore the heck out of you. But that's all I have to say for Edward Scissorhands.